Hello everybody, I am going to share with you guys a very short, sweet, and to the point reincarnation of what we did today at the Francis Howell School District TechFest. We had an hour-long session in order to explore Symbaloo and Google Docs to streamline research, but I'm going to try to do it here in 5 minutes or less. So as my students say, it makes them feel nervous when Miss Liscombe is talking too quickly. So hopefully I can live up to that reputation here for you today and give you a very quick overview of what went on in today's session. Today's objectives were we explored Big Six research, we talked a little bit about the basics of Symbaloo, we talked some basics of Google Drive, and then also explored how I have my students do collaborative research and citations of their research. So Big Six we talked about is from Mike Eisenberg and Bob Berkowitz, and kids need to research smarter, not harder. At an elementary level, we kind of help them define the task. We help them with determining all the possible sources. Sometimes we do that for them. Sometimes we locate that for them, especially in the beginning of the year or maybe when students are newer. But then it's our job to help them with is to find the information within those sources, to engage them, help them extract relevant information, and organize from multiple sources. So I hope these tools today will help you to do just that. We watched a very brief overview of what is Symbaloo. If you want to watch it, you can just go to YouTube and Google Symbaloo. It's one of the very first ones on there. It's 2 minutes and 31 seconds long. Basically, it's a bookmarking site where you create these really cool interfaces called web mixes. There are plenty already made that you could use. I prefer to create my own from scratch. Then you can share them with each other, share them with the students. They're kind of a snap to create. It takes a commitment of maybe a 10 to 15 minute upload up front, but then once you're in, you can add tiles at just a moment's notice, and it takes just a second or two, and they're instantly available to whatever devices your students are working on. So I shared my students' home, whoopsie, sorry about that. The web mix that I have set as my students' homepage when they come in. We have tons of things linked here. We've got our productivity sites, we've got some multimedia sites, we have our Padlets that we use for daily 5 and morning work, our kid blog, Study Island, Mastery Connect, all sorts of things. But what we focused on today were a couple of different ones. This one was when we did our Unit 2, Eat This Not That nutritional unit. And I started out, I think these 4, maybe these 3 websites right here were the ones that were provided by the units of study. So I had in one tab the unit of study with all the links, and then in the other tab I had my Symbaloo, and I copied, pasted, and created new tiles. It's pretty easy to do. I'll do just a sample right here. You click, add a new tile. You would paste the website there, add a name, show the text. You can pick a color. You can even add a cute little icon. And I'll do that one just for fun. You click save, and all you have to do, well, this one's not going to work because I didn't actually do anything. You just have to remember each time you add tiles is to republish it. You just hit that refresh button. It's updated, and everybody who uses your web mix can view it. So again, I used that. Where were we? Like I said, I started with just a couple websites. I didn't want to give the kids the world. They're just little kids. They don't need 27 websites to choose from. I started them with a couple to get them along the path of them researching food labels. And from then, they started asking questions. Well, what are carbohydrates? What does vitamin C do for you? And so as they started inquiring into those questions, we used kind of a constructivist model where I went and found a new website. I put it on the web mix and say, hey, why don't you teach your friends the question you had and show them how this website helped you find the answer. And we're in the middle of it right now. You can see there's not too much. But that self-guided type of research is just so powerful for the kids because they feel in control of their own learning and their own exploration, I guess you would call it. Sorry, I had a little glitch right there. The other thing I wanted to share was another web mix we made that I really like the interface of Symbaloo because you can organize things however you'd like. For this one, they had to research an activist, a civil rights activist, and they used the Duckster's site and Facts for Me site to kind of research an overview of who are civil rights leaders, and from there they narrowed down that some of them wanted to research Ellison Onizuka, some Susan B. Anthony, Jackie Robinson, and Thurgood Marshall, and Abe Lincoln were the final contenders. So then I was able, as they started asking more and more questions, to find sites that would provide the answers, post them on here, and they could get deeper and deeper in their exploration of that topic. And it's available next year, so I can kind of start from scratch if I wanted to, or I can just kind of use what was already there, and maybe this year the kids will go even deeper than they did. I also use it for my team for 3rd grade. We use it as a bookmarking site to keep track of all the websites teachers need to use. Alright, so once they have found the website, what next? One thing that helps them is the Find tool. All browsers have it. I know on Firefox and Google Chrome, it looks like a hamburger. We call that the hamburger button. So for example, I wanted my students to know who the head of each branch of government was, but each of them were researching a different branch. So I first taught them kind of the structure of websites and how to look at headings to skim and scan for what they're looking for. Then I taught them this Find tool. They type in the word head, and on the website it highlights every time the word head is mentioned on that website. Some of the websites didn't have that on there because kids were in different places, so instead they had to do leader. Well, this one didn't have leader. So it's kind of a quick check for the kids, as long as they're spelling their words right, to sift through some of those websites that really aren't going to help them. If they're looking for a specific thing about perhaps the president, well, they know they don't have to read that website if they can't even find the word president on the website. So I really like that shortcut tool. One consideration to think about, it depends on the level of your students. Do you want them, because they're going to be recording their research in Google, which is on the screen online digitally, do you want them to have the research site open in one window with the Google document open in another window? I tried that because I thought, kids, there's no way that they can, remember and type into a whole different document. And I ran into copying, plagiarism, copy pasting into the research graphic organizer. So instead, I have them read the research site. They have to use their short-term memory, kind of remember it. Then they go to their document and paraphrase exactly what they had learned. I find it pretty helpful. And the template I use for doing that, here's an example of what some girls did last year. I gave them this blank document via Google Drive. They opened it up, made themselves a copy that they shared, put in our little project folder. They each picked a color, and that kind of is a cooperative learning strategy to make sure that each kid is pulling their own weight. And it ends up being positive peer pressure, because if they see one color getting more than the other one, they tend to step it up. These two girls were working on 2 separate devices when they were conducting their research. They had located 4 sources along the way. You can see down here, the template I provided for them had all the documentation categories that they needed to do. So website number 1, or source number 1, was biology for kids. Source number 2 was Ducksters. Source number 3 was How Stuff Works, and source number 4 was their health book. They used that to answer the predetermined questions that we as a class had come up with that were important for us to discover about the body system that they were researching. So after they used their research, they each created individual projects. We were running out of time towards the end of a quarter. Looks like 3rd quarter on this one. And so she had to kind of squeeze it in there at the end. It's not very pretty, but it gets the point across. She's got her lead, her introduction, her topic sentences, supporting details, closing sentences, conclusion, her reflection, and then her sources. She hyperlinks here right back to that document that we just looked at. And what that does is it holds the kids accountable. They know that they cannot use prior knowledge or things they've learned somewhere else in their research. They actually know that you can go back at any time, check their sources, and see if indeed they did find the information they put in their report where they say they did. So that, I said, was a Google document. It can be created in Google Drive. As you know, we have teacher accounts now. Hopefully sooner than later, those student accounts will be rolling out. I've heard a rumor that October sometime is the projected rollout date, as long as no roadblocks come into play. Some people also create classroom accounts. That's what I've been using for a while now. I just created a new Google account, called it Mrs. L's Class, hr@gmail.com, and we've been using that. You also can decide, do you want kids to be putting all these documents in their individual student folders that we name with our student numbers, just in the event there's data or anything else in there? I like to keep that private and coded by their student number instead of their name. Or if they're going to be doing a collaborative project, I usually use project folders. You could have one folder called the Body Systems Project, and everything will be put in there. So then there's no argument over who my partner was, what folder we put it in. He has more stuff in his folder than I do. It all stays in just one place. And then again, it's up to you. If you're not going to use just your teacher account, then you can give them access at home or not. I choose not to. I don't know that many of my kids would partake in using it if I did, but if that's something you think could be beneficial, it's an option. Then we used work time. We created some Symbaloo accounts. We made some web mixes. We used our Google account to create some templates, and we thought about Google Drive folders. So I hope it was useful. I enjoyed presenting today and the great audience that I had, and I hope this is of some benefit to you as you move forth in cross-curricular projects in your elementary classroom. Take care.